Hello folks, my name is Christian Blackford, and today I will be exploring the antibiotic apocalypse. The end of the world has been fantasized and revered by many humans ever since we began to invade every corner of this earth. Throughout history, whole societies have been wiped off the face of the map in what seems like a blink of an eye. Although it was the end of these certain flourishing societies, it was not the end of humanity itself. People somehow, every time, always emerged on the other side, living and breathing. This presentation will be examining a total end-of-the-world event caused by an antibiotic resistance. So, antibiotic resistance, or antimicrobial resistance, AMR, is the ability of a microbe to resist the effects of medication that once successfully treated the microbe. The term antibiotic resistance, or AR, as it applies to only bacteria becoming resistant to antibiotics. Resistant microbes are more difficult to treat, requiring alternative medications or higher doses of antimicrobials. These approaches may be more expensive, more toxic, or even both. Microbes resistant to multiple antimicrobials are called multi-resistant, or MDR. Those considered extensively drug-resistant, XDR, or totally drug-resistant, TDR, are often referred to as superbugs. So this is an already occurring problem. Scientists have been struggling in these recent decades with this antibiotic resistance. This phenomenon has caused mass panic in the science world as these changes in the microbials have already been happening and have started to render hundreds of antibiotics useless. But what would happen if one disease finally became immune to all the antibiotics we would create? Would it essentially be the most powerful living thing on the planet? I think so. So these microbes spread through what is commonly referred to as disease transmission. The way a virus like this would spread would be through either indirect or direct contact. Certain types of viruses, bacteria, parasites, and fungi can cause all sorts of infectious diseases. But we're looking at the one that maybe is still out there and that has not been discovered. So first, for direct contact, one can come in one can get sick from person-to-person contact, and this is typically through an exchange of body fluids with someone else, or maybe you've been touched by them. And then we move on to the second way it can spread through direct contact, which is the droplet spread. The spray of droplets coughing and sneezing can spread an infectious disease. You can infect another person through droplets created when you speak. Since droplets fall to the ground within a few feet, this type of transmission requires close proximity. On to the scary part, indirect contact. So the first indirect contact you can have is airborne transmission. Some infectious agents can travel long distances and remain suspended in the air for an extended period of time. You can catch a disease like measles by entering a room after someone with measles has departed. The second one would be contaminated objects. Some organisms can live on objects for a short time. If you touch an object, such as a doorknob, soon after an infected person has touched it, you may be exposed to the infection. On to food and drinking water. This is pretty common. Infectious diseases can be transmitted via contaminated food and water. E. coli is often transmitted this way through improperly handled produce or undercooked meat. The fourth one, animal-to-person contact, which is a little bit more rare, but it happens. Some infectious diseases can be transmitted from animal to a person. This can happen when an infected animal bites or scratches you, or when you handle animal waste. Number 5, animal reservoirs. Animal disease transmission can sometimes transfer to humans. Zoonosis occurs when diseases are transferred from animals to people. Zoonotic diseases include anthrax, rabies, West Nile virus, and the plague. Insect bites are also another common way to spread diseases. Some zoonotic infectious agents are transmitted by insects, especially those that suck blood, like mosquitoes, fleas, ticks. These are the ones you want to watch out for. And lastly, environmental reservoirs. Soil, water, and vegetation containing infectious organisms can also be transferred to people through hookworm, for example, is a way it's transferred. The scenario. So what would happen if a disease did become resistant to all of the drugs? So for my scenario, I drew a lot of what would happen from my time watching The Last Ship, a TV show that tells of a time where infectious disease has wiped out around 80% of the world's population. As this has never happened before, I had to imagine what would happen in a real-world scenario. First of all, governments, to be the first to know, would try to keep it hush-hush. They would try to contain this viral infection at first, shutting down transportation, banning all flights in and out of the country, suspending all non-essential employees until this outbreak is quelled. Martial law and mandatory curfews may even be put into place to try and stop the spread. But in this scenario, the government is not able to contain it because the superbug is powerful and cannot be stopped using traditional methods of eradication. As more and more people become infected, the government is failing. People would start to take to the streets looking for someone to blame. Riots, looting, murder, and all-around mass chaos would ensue. After this, you would start to see a breakdown of the government as they lose more and more personnel trying to find a cure. Once they got down to critical levels, the whole system would be abandoned as there was not enough people to run it or maintain control over the people. This leaves the world in a sort of free fall with no end in sight and the superbug wreaking havoc. From there, we would either find a cure or all die before one was found. Those lucky enough to be immune could possibly start rebuilding society, but it would set us back hundreds of years as most of the world population has been killed off. So how do we stop it? We live in a day and age where medicine is so advanced it can clear up a sickness in a day. But what happens when those sicknesses start becoming as advanced as we have become? Will the world end, or will we get to a point where we have a cure-all from anything from the common cold to cancer? While doing research, there was only 2 noted ways that we can stop this antibiotic rebellion. One is to stop using as many antibiotics because then the diseases won't have the time to become as resistant as they won't be used as often. The other one is better medicine, to find the cure-all for every disease. Thank you, and have a wonderful day.